UFC Fight Night, Holland versus Thompson, is an absolutely stacked card in Orlando. The UFC this year has just loved bringing these stacked cards. You know, we've had the France card, we've had the Long Island card, the Austin card, Ohio card, Orlando card, England card. I don't know. These fight cards, they're really trying to bring them back. And I'm hoping that with them bringing these fight cards back, is meaning that they're going to be out of the Apex soon. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of the Apex. Like, it doesn't feel the same when these guys are going to the Apex and they're fighting in front of maybe 75 people. And, you know, and obviously there's more than 75 people in the building, but, like, the crowd is everything. You know, I've been to 2 events. I've been to UFC Austin with Cater and Emmett, and I've been to UFC 277, which was Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena, too. And those were great events, and the crowd was amazing. You know, UFC Austin was one of the best fight nights they've ever had. So I'm hoping that they'll start going back to where they're out of the Apex and they're only fighting on, out of the Apex. Am I okay with them using the Apex every once in a while? Like, oh, it's, they've been on the road for the last 3 weeks. You know, they're going to take the 4th week off, but the 5th week is going to be in the Apex. Yes, I'm cool with them using it like 10 times a year, and I get that. But, I actually don't know how many times I used it this year, but it definitely feels like too much. So let's go ahead and talk about these fights, though. Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, a minus 180 favorite over Wonder Boy. Great fight. These guys have been very nice to each other. Weigh-ins were cool. So, I want to go Kevin Holland because he's definitely better on the ground, but I don't know if he wants to get Steven to the ground. He might just stand with him, but standing with Thompson is very scary. It is very scary. He's a number 6 in the world for a reason, but I am going to take Kevin Holland via 3rd round submission. That's just how I feel. Moving to the next fight, we have Brian Barberena versus Rafael Dos Anjos. Rafael Dos Anjos is an absolute dog, as we all know, but a minus 560 and a plus 430 for Brian Barberena. That's kind of crazy, but I mean, RDA is no joke. But the thing about RDA is most of his fights is either he is winning them and it's going to be a beatdown, or he's getting beat down. There's not very many fights you can think of that it was like kind of Like him and Rafael Fiziev is probably like the closest fight he's ever had where it's kind of back and forth, but it really was in the favor of Rafael like the whole time. So that's how RDA kind of rolls, but he's always a dog. So I'm going to go RDA. I wouldn't be mad if Brian Barberena won, but I'm just going to rock with RDA. And I think he's going to call out Jorge Masvidal. I think that's who he's going to start with. Matthias Nicola versus Matt Schnell. Actually, both of these guys are on 2 cards that I brought up earlier this year. Matthias being on the Ohio card, Blade versus Dawkins, and then Matt Schnell being on UFC Long Island, Rodriguez versus Ortega. And I don't know if you guys watched Matt Schnell's last fight with Su Mudaerji, but it was one of the best fights you'll ever see. I mean, it was amazing. Matt Schnell took the first round very closely. Like I said, very close first round, but then he was just getting worked in the second. And then he actually ends up getting a couple wobbles on Su Mudaerji and then gets the takedown. Su Mudaerji rolls over on top, gets mount. Then Matt Schnell locks in the triangle and pulls it off. And it was one of the best. If you haven't seen that fight, you've got to go watch that before this fight. This fight is at late at night, so watch that fight before tomorrow. Watch it after USA beats the Netherlands. This will be a good fight, though. I don't think that minus 365 is fair, and I don't think a plus 300 is fair. But, Brandon Royval and him, Matt Schnell could have easily beat Brandon Royval. If you watch that fight, it easily could have been his fight. He had him. He just couldn't hold on much longer. I mean, what can you do? Nikolai, I think he's on a 3-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. He's got Tim Elliott and Manel Kape in there, which are good wins. So I think that's probably why they give it to him, and those are a little bit better wins. But I don't think a plus or a minus 365 is fair. I'm taking Matt Schnell. I'm always going to ride with Matt Schnell. This is probably the people's main event, in my opinion. Tai Tuivasa versus Sergey Pavlovich. If you didn't watch Sergey's last fight against Derek Lewis, as I said, I was there at UFC 277. It was over in 55 seconds, early stoppage. don't get me wrong, Dan Miragliotta, it made sense why you stopped the fight, but at the same time, Derek got immediately up. And Sergey had missed like 5 of the last 7 punches. So it was kind of like, yeah, that was an early stoppage. Tai Tuivasa, yeah, he's on a 1-loss streak. He lost in France to Cyril Gane. Did get a knockdown on Cyril Gane and brought the fight to him, but, you know, we all know who Cyril Gane is. I mean, he's disgusting. He's great. But I don't know. I definitely understand why Sergey Pavlovich is the minus 225 favorite. But Ty's hands, man. Ty's got some good hands, and he's got a good chin. I know Cyril Gane knocked him out, but it took a while. It really did. I'm going to rock with Tai Tuivasa. I really am. One fight that I actually love. I love this fight. I like it more than the Derek Brunson fight because honestly, in Jack Hermansson's last fight at UFC London against Chris Curtis, where he was supposed to fight Darren Till, it was not fun. Jack Hermansson just controlled around the cage, got his punches in, and Chris Curtis wanted to stand in the middle and throw. But no, that's not what we got. It wasn't fun for Chris Curtis. And, you know, you wanted that fight, and that's just not what we got. But we were going to have him against Derek Brunson, Jack Hermansson, Derek Brunson, and I just figured it'd be the same thing. You know, Jack rolls around the cage, Derek shoots for takedowns. Roman Dolidze, I saw him at UFC Austin. He actually knocked out Cal Dawkins. He's off of a win 4 weeks ago against Phil Hawes. It was a great knockout, amazing. He's a plus 165, filling in on short notice. That's not bad at all. Minus 195 to Jack Hermansson. If you got to think about that, when a guy usually fills in on short notice, it's not a plus 165. Usually you're at least plus 250 if you're going to fill in on short notice. Especially, he's an unranked guy. And do I think he needs to be unranked? No, I think he's definitely a ranked or within the top 20 of the UFC middleweights. I'm going to take Roman Dolidze. I rock with him. He's from Georgia. He's a great fighter. He's got great strike. He's good everywhere. Am I surprised if Jack Hermansson wins? Absolutely not. But I think just Roman Dolidze is an absolute dog. Eric Anders versus Kyle Dawkins. Kyle, man. It's just tough. It's tough. He's had a tough couple months. You know, he had that Kevin Holland fight where he drawled. Like I said, Roman Dolidze just finished him in his last fight. I don't know. I'll go Eric Anders, but I do hope that Kyle Dawkins wins. Nico Price returns for the first time in over a year against Phil Rowe. I thought it was Philip, but yeah, he's a minus 135 favorite, and I agree with it. I do think that a little bit of ring rust might show, but at the same time, he's always fun to watch. He's a great fighter. This will be a great fight for the featured bout of the prelims, so I'm going to take Nico Price, though. Representing Oklahoma, Emily Dakota is a minus 120. Shout out to her. I'm going to be rocking with her over Angela Hill. I got nothing much to say. I know that Dakota's great on the feet. We saw that in our last fight. So I'm going to be rocking with Emily Dakota. In our last fight, Jessica Pena was 0 for 8 on takedowns against Emily Dakota. So she was also striking the bleedy head off her. So I'm going to be rocking with her. Clay Guida, Scott Holtzman. Scott Holtzman actually brought out his son. It was really cool for the ceremonial weigh-ins. Clay Guida was cool with them. It was a great stare down. Great fight. I'm rocking Scott Holtzman. Michael Johnson versus Mark DeCasey. I think DeCasey is probably going to round out a decision just using that wrestling. That's what I think, and it's sad. I do think Michael Johnson can possibly knock him out, and I'd like that. So Darren Elkins walking on the ceremonial weigh-ins just looked bad. I'm going to be honest. It looked bad. And Jonathan Pierce has not been bad at the UFC. He's actually been pretty darn good. I'm rocking with Jonathan Pierce. So those are my picks for UFC Fight Night. Holland versus Thompson in UFC Orlando. I hope these picks hit. I wouldn't be surprised if they all miss like usual because that's usually how my picks go. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video and comment down below your picks. Thanks for watching. Peace.